Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special Executive Committee meeting. Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. We'll start with a roll call by Ms. Morlock.
Present. Present.
Here, we have 9 members of our Executive Committee present, 0 absent. We do have a quorum. Item number 2, approval of minutes, is there primarily as a standard template, but we will approve these minutes at our next regular meeting of the Executive Committee per rule in May. So we'll skip that and go on to appearance by members of the public, in which we are basically here for today. We don't have any other people that would speak at this time other than public members, so this should be another thing that's just on the agenda that we'll deal with. Let's go to departmental items and executive committee, and I'm going to refer this first item for A1A, which we feel now is not necessary to have an action item on this, and I'm going to have Mr. Spanos take the floor and explain the interpretation of our rules, so we'll have a better idea of where we are with this meeting.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In preparing the agenda, we weren't sure exactly what we were going to do with the time limit. And since we got the agenda out, spent some time looking through the rules, and I spoke with Mr. Chairman before we started, and I thought it would be worthwhile to go through the rules kind of quickly to explain why we don't think this is necessary any further or any longer. Rule 20-14 or 15, excuse me, I sets out that the committee shall allow non-members to appear before the committees in accordance with 20-13G, and then sets out a time limit allowed for appearances shall be 5 minutes for each individual or representative spokesperson of a group, and the maximum total time allotted for appearances shall be 30 minutes. With the reference and incorporating Rule 20-13G, that provides that that on motion, any member, not even a motion, any member may request an extension of this time by making a request, and absent any objection, the 30-minute time limit can be expanded. There were a couple other things that I thought would be worthwhile mentioning as we go through this. Rule 20-13G is incorporated into the committee meeting rules, which includes subpart F that points out county board members may not engage in discussion with, address, or ask questions of non-members during the time allowed for non-member appearances under subsection G2. So those rules are in effect as we proceed. The 30-minute time limit can be expanded, but there is a 5-minute time limit with respect to each individual speaker. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
It's going to happen. Mr. Spanos is our Assistant State's Attorney, assigned to the County Administration Office for Civil Matters for the record. Anyone have any questions? Any members? Member Woolrab?
Yes, so if there is a comment that maybe has an informational source as part of what the speaker is talking about, or, a website or something, can we not request, I know we normally don't speak to the people who come to address us, but is it all right for us to ask for them to send it to us, or to clarify something further?
I'm going to ask any member to place on file anything that is that has spoken, if they would like, for the record? Yes. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Member Erickson?
And that's so all members can get it, right? Place it on file here so we can all get it. If we, yeah, if someone submits something, we'll have access to it.
It is my intention for us to have these 3 meetings of the special meetings and recess our meeting tonight, move right on to the next one. So this will all be incorporated in our record as one special input session meeting. It'd be 3 meetings, but they'll all be in a record, okay? So we'll accumulate information, which will be accessible for review by this committee. Okay. Any other questions? We'll move on. Presenters for the night who have called in. The rule is that the person should call in and register with the county administrative office 24 hours prior to the meeting. And we want to encourage that from the public. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to speak tonight. Our first presenter on the screen is a call-in virtually is Tanya Blumenshine. Tanya, welcome. You will have 5 minutes to speak. It's press and
well, thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
You may begin it.
Thank you. I do not need 5 minutes. I mostly want to say, thank you. Thanks each of you for your service to our community. I know, we all know what you've endured. I guess what I like to call the rabbit hate mob, and yet you're still here and you're working for us, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm calling in regards to your upcoming county redistricting decisions that will soon take place. I guess we're all aware with the changes that have happened in the last year, really nationally, within our state. Citizens are waking up. We're paying attention. We're voting. Look at the increase in voting numbers last November, even this month locally. So we're paying attention, and we should have done it a long time ago, but we are paying attention. So grateful for all of you. As you are redistricting, my biggest request is simply that you be leaders and stand your ground to the mob. Do the right thing for the citizens of McLean County and create maps that indeed represent McLean County and not just special interest groups. But that's really it. I sure appreciate your time and all you are doing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Blumenshine. If you have anything you'd like to submit for the record as part of your speech, please send it in to the county administrative office. We'll move on.
Thank you.
Our second person who has signed up to speak is one of our honorable members of our county board, and that is Member Elizabeth Johnston. Would you like to come up to our microphone, please?
This on? Can you guys hear me? Is the mic on? Okay. Is it okay if I take my mask off? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I was under the impression that I was number 3 tonight, so 2 is a surprise. I thank you for having me here today. Much of what I'm going to say tonight, you guys as the board members know already, just knowing what you do about McLean County. We are unique in so many ways. We have the largest landmass of any county in Illinois. I'm saying this just to make sure it's on the record, because you guys already know. We are 1,182 square miles. That puts us 32 square miles smaller than the state of Rhode Island. We have a healthy mix of rural and urban communities, agriculture, industry, tourism, and multiple institutions of higher education that all work together to make McLean County an amazing place to work, to live, and to play. With that kind of diversity, it is important to ensure that future district maps result in a board that reflects the community as a whole. that each community of interest has a seat at the table to provide their insights and guide the direction of county governance. And I believe that anything we can do to make government more accessible and less confusing to residents is a positive step forward. I have to say, when I was running for office, constituents either knew nothing about county government or they thought that they had only one representative. And that is despite having both seats for District 5 on the ballot in 2016. So literally like 15 months before I was knocking doors, they voted on 2 representatives and they still didn't know they had 2 representatives. So I was curious last night, and I entered all of our kind of home addresses into the map just to see what representation coverage looked like. I mean, we know that the largest districts are in the rural areas, so in the outlying areas. So, but when I was looking at it, I saw that some of the communities, their closest board member, like in Chenoa, their closest board member is 30 miles away. That's almost the distance from my house to like Morton. We're a big county, and I would like to see us make sure that we have representation for each community in our county. So I am respectfully requesting that we retain the current 20 board seats, but that we consider a map with 20 districts, with each electing its own member. This would centralize the focus for each district with one voice, and thereby support the continued creation of a more reflective board. Of the counties in central Illinois that with the most similar combination of rural and urban communities to our own here in McLean, we have 3 to consider what their county board structures are. Sangamon County consists of 29 members, each elected from their own district. It is like ours, they're elected mostly to 4-year terms. The county chairman is elected from within the ranks of the 29 members. Champaign County is set up a little bit more like ours. There are 11 districts. They've got 2 per district. And they also elect their chairman from within. And then Peoria County has a board administrator structure. It is 18 members with 1 representative per district. What I think if we can make smaller districts and do 1 per district, it would allow us to listen better to the ones that are within our district, where they'd have a closer relationship with us. Each vote would carry more weight for that particular representative. So that's just what I'm proposing tonight. Thank you for hearing me out.
Hello?
Yes, Jacqueline Byer, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Welcome to the Executive Committee, and you do have the floor to speak. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As the once in a decade redistricting process is starting, I would like to propose a change that would actually reduce the number of districts in McLean County to 5 rather than our current 10 districts. Just a quick kind of, I guess, comment about Mrs. Johnston's comment about going to 20 with 1 rep per district. That would be, I think, difficult because if one of the members could not attend the meeting or something, they wouldn't be able to have a voice at that meeting. So in terms of attendance, I think that is kind of, it's the wrong direction we want to go. So right now, each McLean County resident has only a 10% representation on the county board. By decreasing the number of districts to 5, that will give McLean County residents a 20% voice in county business. In the surrounding counties of Ford, Livingston, Woodford, Platte, and Tazewell counties, each resident has the opportunity to vote for a 1/3 representation on the county board. Logan County residents vote for 1/6 or 17% of the board. DeWitt residents vote for 25% of the board representation. It is important that we ensure strong and proper representation of the communities outside Bloomington-Normal proper, which rely heavily on county services, which include law enforcement, zoning, and roads.
And I guess one thing I just realized too, going back to Mrs. Johnston's comments regarding Champaign actually in their last redistricting cut their number of districts, so they went smaller rather than larger. So anyway, going back to what I had actually prepared, the County Sheriff's Department is the only law enforcement agency for the vast majority of the county. McLean County is the largest sized county in the state of Illinois, as Mrs. Johnston had mentioned. Therefore, the Sheriff's Department covers a much greater physical area per mile than the Bloomington and Normal police departments. They also provide backup for the few small communities which may have a police officer. Because Bloomington and Normal have their own police departments, residents of Bloomington and Normal receive minimal services from the Sheriff's Department. Hence, the county board representatives of the Bloomington Normal district should have a minimal say in the operations and funding of the Sheriff's Department. Cutting any funding leaves the collar communities with less protection, while Bloomington Normal receives the same level of protection through our own police departments. The county also has their own zoning codes that apply only to properties outside Bloomington Normal. Yet board members representing Bloomington Normal can impact decisions, but then not have to answer to any of the residents outside the cities. The county highway department plows and maintains most of the roads in McLean County, while most of the roads in Bloomington Normal are served by our own cities. County roads provide the only mode of ground transportation for the rural communities, which can be crippled by bad weather or crumbling streets. Residents can be prevented from getting to work, and students prevented from getting to school. Schools in the rural communities have had to be creative to avoid snow days that have the potential of exceeding those of District 87 and Unit 5. Because of the road conditions and bad weather. And because the county highway department services a much greater area per square mile than the cities of Bloomington Normal, residents outside Bloomington Normal proper must wait much longer to get streets plowed, salted, or repaired. Therefore, residents outside Bloomington Normal should have a greater say in the funding and operations of the county highway department as well. We cannot have a situation like the state of Illinois, where the entire state government is heavily dictated by the city of Chicago. The residents outside of the cities of Bloomington and Normal should have a proper and strong voice in county funding because of the greater proportion of services they receive compared to the city of Bloomington and Normal. Thank you so much for your time, and just like Tanya said, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and again, I have it on. I want to remind you that you can submit your speech or documents to the county administration office for the record as well. We'll move on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Anna Ziegler, who is here in person. Anna, you can come up to the podium, please. You'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak to an issue that will shape what representation looks like in our county for the next 10 years. My name is Anna Ziegler. I'm the Assistant Manager for McLean County Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau is a voluntary membership organization that works to represent farmers and farmland owners here in McLean County. I'd like to take just a minute to highlight the importance of agriculture to our county. As you may be aware, more than 80% of the land area in McLean County is farmland. And what that means in terms of square miles is that 968 square miles of our county is farms out of a total of 1,187. And my number is based on the county soil survey. I'm not sure where Elizabeth got her number, but there's a 5-mile difference in there somewhere. We are also home to some of the most productive farmland in the world. 93% of our total acreage meets the USDA definition of prime farmland. And that's 93% of the total acreage, which includes everything that's already paved over as a road and built up as part of our cities. Agriculture contributes more than 1.5 billion with a B, to our local economy and supports 5,600 jobs here in our county. Farmland also represents 10% of the property tax base And additionally, wind turbines, which are all located in rural areas, add an additional 47.3 million to our property tax base. And that does not include our two most recent wind farm developments. Those, the Brightstock will be added in 2020, payable in 2021, and Blooming Grove will be added to the property tax base in 2021, payable in 2022. So we've got more EAV coming from those wind developments. So all that to say that strong rural and agriculture representation matters on the county board. We recognize and appreciate the fact that the McLean County Board represents all citizens of the county, both urban and rural, but we'd like to highlight a couple areas of county government where the jurisdiction and authority and oversight that the county has a greater impact on our rural residents. The first of those is transportation. The McLean County Highway Department maintains 366 miles of county highways and 89 bridges. The majority of those are located in our rural areas. In addition, our township road districts rely on partnerships with the county to maintain an additional 1,539 miles of roads and 247 bridges. All of those bridges and roads matter to our farmers. They provide field access, they allow for the delivery of farm inputs, and the transportation of corn, soybeans, livestock, and all of our other ag products to market. All of our rural businesses and any future economic development in our rural areas and small towns depends on that infrastructure. The second area is land use. As was previously stated by another speaker, McLean County zoning only impacts the unincorporated areas of the county. So issues like farmland preservation, rural business development, and all of those renewable energy projects, the ones that are in place and the ones yet to come, are in the rural areas. And the third area is public safety. Also, as another speaker mentioned, the unincorporated areas of the county and our small towns rely on the county sheriff's department. They don't have another entity to call in case of an emergency. And our rural and small town fire and EMS rely on the county Metcom to dispatch those emergency services. So as McLean County Farm Bureau, our interest is in strong representation for the ag and rural areas of our county. We support maintaining at least 20 members on the McLean County Board. We support decreasing the number of county districts to 4 to 7. We don't have a specific number. We'll reserve that for evaluating what the actual maps look like when they get drawn. We believe that reducing the number of districts will empower every voter, both urban and rural, to vote for a larger percentage of the board. Instead of just voting for 2 county board members, every board member would have the opportunity to elect 3, 4, or 5, depending on the final number of districts. We believe that this also will increase every district's representation on each of the county's 7 oversight committees. Looking at the current committee assignments with 10 districts and 7 members on every committee, with the exclusion of the executive committee, each district or each committee currently lacks representation for between 3 to 5 districts. So if you have more members per district, every district and every voter will be represented on every committee, and we think that's important. We also see it as an opportunity to potentially increase the number of board members that have farmland and ag areas in their district. Again, it depends on where the lines are drawn, and we hope to have the opportunity as those lines get drawn to provide additional input. We oppose districts that would fragment or split rural areas and small communities unnecessarily. We realize that the census data delay puts all these redistricting efforts and puts you in the unique position of deciding on your structure before you actually draw the lines on a map. And again, we hope to have additional opportunities for input as those lines get drawn. Thank you again for your time this afternoon and for the opportunity to represent the interests of agriculture and our small communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, you have the opportunity to place on file your speech, leave with the county administrative office or send in to us. Our last speaker this evening is Becky Swan. Becky, can you hear me?
Yes.
Becky is joining us virtually on the screen. Becky, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Becky Swan. Why is the county board allowing one of its own members to engage in a misinformation campaign about redistricting? Recently, Member Johnson told people on social media that, quote, there is quite a bit of leeway in determining if we want 5 or 105 board members, or if we want at-large seats or multiple districts, end quote. Does the county board really have the authority to determine that there will be 105 county board members through redistricting? Can the county board even determine that there will be that many? Half that many? Of course, they cannot make the board go from 20 members to even 30, 40, or 50 members, but that didn't stop Ms. Johnson from attempting to gin up some good old support for whatever it is she has in mind. Can the county board really take us from a county that elects board members by district to board members at large throughout the whole county? No, of course they can't. But again, why not fire up the old political base and throw out statements that are totally factually inaccurate to try and get what you want? What the county board can do is give every citizen the same right to vote for a larger percentage of members. The town of Normal residents get to vote for 100% of their city council. The city of Bloomington residents get to vote for 20% of their city council. Why do McLean County residents only get to vote for 10% of the county board? That's all I have. Thank you all for your time.
Oh, boy. I'm sorry about this, getting the mic on and off. It's gonna take me a while to get back into the routine for that. Is there anybody else that has anything for this evening? As far as, other business?
I do.
Member
Mr. Chair.
Woolrab.
Well, have a statement myself.
Is this gonna be business, other business? Or are you doing this
Well,
as?
how are we conducting are you adjourning now, or how are we conducting the rest of the meeting, I guess?
If you're making a statement as a member of this board, as part of this meeting for public input session, then our rule says are supposed to apply 24 hours in advance. And so I'd rather, if you're, I'm not sure what exactly you're going to say, but if this is part of, I am going into other business right now at this
Well,
time.
as long as I have a chance to speak,
But if you're going to do this under other business and it pertains to what we're trying to do
Yes.
for public input to this board, then that really is not something
Are you
that's.
saying I shouldn't be able to speak? I'm not clear what you're saying. We wanted to speak as a member of this committee. Are you going to call
For
on me
other
to do that?
business.
Sure,
Now,
wherever it's appropriate.
Is this other business that is not pertained to?
No, it is not. It is pertained to the topic on the agenda. Can I not speak on the
Well,
topic
then
on the agenda?
then the rule says, I don't know how I can refer this to Mr. Spanos, but I think the rules said that you could apply 24 hours in advance.
I've
to
never
speak.
known that a committee member had to apply to speak at a committee.
Well,
No,
that's what the rule was. It was
I'm
set up.
speaking, I request to speak as a member of the committee.
Okay,
Can
hang
I
on
get
just a
the
minute.
floor?
I need an interpretation, that's all. Okay? Hang on, please. I believe I'm trying to think back about the rule as far as without objection, a member can speak, but is that correct, Member Spanos?
No, Mr. Chairman, a member of the committee is not limited to the 24-hour notice in advance. That rule is particularly addressed to non-members of the committee.
So at this time, Member Woolrab is allowed to speak and address and for input as part of the input session information that will remain on the record. Is that correct?
There's nothing in the rules that would prevent that I'm aware of.
All right. Then there's nothing that says the chairman shall grant that without objection, as I'm trying to remember the rule.
Well, my understanding of the intention was that we would take public comment for 3 meetings, if up to 3 meetings as necessary. Whether or not that discussion takes place at the end of each day or at the end of the 3 days is not clear on the agenda.
Okay.
And that would, I think, would be up to the chairman's discretion.
So let me be sure I understand that any member of the committee may speak during these special sessions on the item it's pertinent to giving input for the consideration that we are here for, the purpose of being here for redistricting. Is that correct?
The way I understand it, Mr. Chairman, it would be that at your discretion, when the comments would be
Okay.
made, since it's a continuation, my understanding is you intend to
Okay.
recess, so that all 3 days would be part of the same meeting.
Yes,
uh,
okay. Then,
When you call for discussion, but that at some point, yes, that the members of the committee would be allowed to have
Just-
comment and
and
discussion about those.
Okay, let me just clarify one other thing, Ms. Wilrab, before we start. So is there anything in the rule that applies for a 5-minute limit for a committee member, or a committee member can speak at as much as long as needed, necessary?
There is no time restriction in the rules.
All right, thank you. Does everybody understand that for our further community meetings? Okay, thank you. Member Wilrab, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Spanos, for that interpretation. I do have a statement to read and I'd like to read it now because I think given that we have 3 executive committee meetings where I think we're supposed to be discussing this process, I mean, I think I'd like to give my input at the beginning so that perhaps it could be considered as we move along in this process. Um, Thank you. The reapportionment process is one of the most important issues the county board will address this year. This is because representation of county residents and its elected officials is at the very heart of our democracy and one of our most cherished rights, the right to have fair and open elections. Good governance demands openness and transparency, which includes the process to be used for reapportionment. In the last meeting of the executive committee, we were told that the public would be able to, quote, present before us information, ideas, and even place on file suggestions for plans for your, that's the committee's, consideration, and that includes board members, groups in the community that want to come in and speak to address any special concerns, ideas, or suggestions for our redistricting process, close quote. I request that we can receive such input today, and we have received some of that, and in subsequent scheduled meetings. But let me underscore the word process here. Despite being told we were going to receive and then presumably also consider the public's thought on process, today's agenda indicates that input would have been taken and was taken on results, the very limited topic of the number of districts and board members. This completely skips over any consideration of the process through which these decisions should be made. Good governance dictates that we establish firm and clear criteria for meeting the state and federal statutes for county board districts, such as equal population, compactness, contiguity, minority voting rights, among them. We should be getting input on and discussing what these criteria mean on the ground for us. We should be discussing and getting input about the analytical tools we will be using to meet these criteria. In other words, we have not discussed our goals, what tools we will use to achieve our goals, or how we will measure any end products against our set goals, and how we will meet the requirements of state and federal law. Despite this, a date of May 13th has apparently been set by the chair for a vote on final redistricting plans. Even though there is still time to do so, this leaves no opportunity for an open discussion on a final plan by the committee members or a review of plans and input by the public prior to a final vote on the plans. It strongly suggests that a zero public input plan already exists somewhere. I want to turn to the proposal that it will be solely this executive committee that will develop a plan for the number of districts, number of board members, and district boundaries. The executive committee of this board does not represent the makeup of the county or of the elected representation of the county's residents. To be clear, the executive committee is not representative of the county board itself. The committee is overwhelmingly of one party, with 89% one party, 11% of the other. Where the county board is closely divided with 45% and 55% split. The executive committee is 2/3 male, whereas the full county board is split evenly male and female. The committee lacks any representation of people of color. Furthermore, the executive committee is extremely unrepresentative of the county board and the county residents in respect to the age of its members. The committee's average age is far in excess of either. A broader and more representative group must be convened to decide on a process and make final decisions which should be presented to the community for input before any final county board vote. The chair, as recently quoted by a local radio station, said the mapping process will be political until the state passes fair maps. No, there is nothing stopping the county board from implementing a nonpartisan or even bipartisan and fair process, which has already been done in other counties. This would be good governance. While you can move ahead with allowing the politicians of the county board to pick their voters rather than the other way around, we don't have to do that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do it. Rather, this county can be among the few other counties which have a fair and open process, and we can be a model of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address members of the committee tonight? Member Schaefer, you have anyone else? Okay, then we have nothing else. I have no other business as far as other business goes that we should be discussing. We will not be paying any bills tonight. We'll do that at our regular meeting of exec. And so we will be recessing to Monday, April 26th at same time, 4:30 in this room. Again, I highly encourage any group representatives from the community, from whatever reasons, for whatever as necessary, they can please sign up if you and before 24 hours prior to our Monday meeting with our county administrative office. You may come and submit for on file your speech. You can also attend virtually as we have done today. So,
Question, Mr. Chair. Can we get some idea of what this process is going to look like beyond just hearing comments from people? Are we going to have discussion? Are any of the things I mentioned in my commentary?
yes, I believe that I addressed that in our prior meeting, but at either rate, we are going to meet and we will discuss all this at the end of our May 3rd.
That'll be at the end of the last
May 3rd
meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
And make a recommendations to the Rules Committee. At that
Well,
time.
are we going to be looking at data, or, I mean, we're just going to do this off the top of our head? I mean, how is that going to
Any
work?
data that the public wants to, including yourself, Member Woolrab, that you want to present to this committee is more than welcome to review. Member Schaefer?
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that at the end, for what we goes to rules is strictly the number of districts and county board members. It's not a map.
That's correct.
Thank
And
you.
we're following the same process that this board has done in the last decade in redistricting, as was recommended to us by the state. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would, with that being said, I would mention that I was involved in a Zoom meeting last week with the members of the Legislative Committee of the Illinois Association of County Board Members. And the discussion on redistricting happened, and there are a number of county boards that are going to use 2019 census information from the U.S. Census Bureau. And in fact, I believe there's some legislation in front of the General Assembly to do that. That's the latest information I have. Since then, there may have been something changed. So anyhow, I just wanted to mention that, and that is what some counties are doing as far as data goes. Again, that's nothing that we need to make a decision on the actual districts or the number of districts. It's more about how they're drawn. So I'll just give that information.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any comments? If not, then we will recess this meeting till 4:30 on Monday, April 26th.